From our WhatsApp portal this morning, we have this message that is coming from Comrade Manli Oduago from Odumobosi, and he says, "My fellow country people, I am not opposed to our President Alhaji Bola Tinubu's globe trotting activities, very much like Ajala that traveled all over the world. My primary concern is that he should do something serious to reverse the current economic condition of the country because there is so much suffering in the land. People's lives must obviously change for the better for them to appreciate the government of the day. Government must listen to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. You also need to take stock of its actions and inactions in order to continue to re-strategize. In all honesty, our president and his advisors should realize that maintaining the trust and optimism of Nigeria and it takes hard and continuous work. May God help us. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It's coming from a Christian, famous Christian, and it's joining us from Ifite village, Aguluzibo. Now we have this one. It's coming from Agonabo. He's joining us from Ofa, Aguluzibo, and it says, arresting of oil tips in Bayelsa is a welcome development. If they will make us to know the end, let it not be criminals catching thief and consign the inspector who killed a man. He's not well-trained officer. Let them make sure that they bring him to book. For example, those that still bear arms, and let the Nigeria be sanitized so that bad eggs among them will be fished out and dismissed so that Nigeria will be well again. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It's coming from Chiko Obata from Obineti Okozu, and it says inflation and hardship worries Nigerians. Kudos to Anambra police for declaring inspector wanted for murder. Obi is right. As Nigerian Super Eagles will meet Bafana of South Africa today, I wish them good luck. Banning sachet alcohol, is it the problem of Nigeria? Atiku has, okay, and Atiku said it all. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu detention is the cause of insecurity here. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It's coming from Waloto Patrick from Monteje, and he says inflation has become the talk of the day in the country. The question now is, what is the cause and the way out? I think the first step to be taken in solving any problem is to find out the remote and immediate causes of that problem. To the best of my knowledge, the immediate cause of inflation in this country is the continuous rise of dollar and the fall of naira, while the remote cause is insecurity in the country. Therefore, for government to address the issue of inflation, the two issues raised above must first of all be addressed. On that note, the CBN must rise to occasion. Thank God the CBN governor has promised that inflation rate will soon fall to 21%. That is a welcome development. Again, the issue of insecurity must equally be addressed because it is when there is security that everybody will be free to go about his or her normal business. The farmers will be free to go to their farms, cultivate, and thereby making food available to the entire nation. And when that is done, there will be food security and other essential commodities. Waloto Patrick from Monteja, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Paulie Nwuizu from Onisha says, in Nigeria, no security, no food for poor families, no rest of mind for all the citizens, no good understanding, no trust. Economy is off, yet our president travel out to enjoy. May God help us out. Paulie Nwuizu from Onisha, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message is coming from Chinedu Oneka, pastor, and he says, I wish our Super Eagles team a wonderful outing today. God will give us winning against South African team. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have this message is coming from Honorable Basio, aka Authority is More Than Power. Issue of fire outbreak at Timber Market in Nnewi, Anambra State. I'm so sorry for those that is affected on those that are affected on that fire incident. But from my own expert opinion, ask a consultant on environmental service, is it as a result of not doing their environmental impact assessment or environmental audit report, environmental management plan? My advice to the Anambra State government is to mandate and enforce all the existing markets in Anambra State to do their environmental audit with immediate effect before fire will overwhelm all the markets in Anambra State. Very, very important because for over 10 years now to 15 years, so many markets in Anambra State have not done Anambra State. Very, very important because for over 10 years now to 15 years, so many markets in Anambra State have not done any environmental analysis. Kudos to Mr. Solution, the governor of Anambra State. It shall be well with Anambra State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Christian Ufondo sent us a message and he says, Abaribie should stop talking without taking any action, telling us that the illegal detention of Nnamdi Kanu is the cause of insecurity in the southeast is not enough, but let him do something. for we are tired of hearing this type of statement. He continued and says, I commend the Labour Party for all he has been doing to criticize the ruling party constructively. My question is, where are the other political parties who came out during election period? Does it mean that they came out to deceive the citizens, not to lead them? Or can their silence over the bad governance silence? Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have this message is coming from Opaka from Apple, and it says Tinubu lack economic reform is laughable. What can an old man do? Well, nothing but to sit down. They look. Truly, Nigerians are suffering in the hands of APC. Opaka from Apple, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have this message is coming from Valentine and the from Opo, and it says Wike shouldn't allow devil to use him. Let him first. Okay, let him five breathing space to current governor of River State, not what he can never be. Okay, that he can never be governor again. Mr. President on fire, he is busy in chasing that. What innovation did he bring about after two private visits? When elder statesmen start using leadership for compensation, it causes downfall of the nation. Mr. President, ever since you came as a president, hyperinflation, inflation, brain drain, hunger escalated. At least, if you resign now, your name will be among in the list of Nigerian presidents who have done a lot. Valentine Edene from well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It is coming from Obiora from Okozu, and it says APC to opposition: stop criticisms and find solutions. They, they, this is very clear and easy. For Nigerian problem to be solved, APC and all their product must stop existing in Nigeria. APC, because APC as a political party is full of lies, heartless and wickedness. Okay, evil men, and he says APC has not okay not, and he says APC has not done anything good for Nigeria rather than killing, hunger, joblessness, kidnapping, terrorism, illegal detention of Mazen and the kind of corruption, destroying Nigeria economy, killing and bombing the innocents, burning all the market in Nigeria, making people of Nigeria poor. If APC stop all this problem must stop. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning, but you can't say that they're all evil. But anyway, thank you so much. We have this message. It's coming from Opio Konkwo, and it says importers abandon cargoes in the port because they can't afford to clear them. God save us. Okay, yes, we'll flip over to our SMS portal now to bring you more reactions. From our SMS portal, we have this message coming from Oxtinez Anwaka from Umweze, Umunachi, and it says, I am appealing to Umu Niger to join me praying for our Super Eagles today, to pray for Super Eagles today, semi-finals, encounter with the semi-finals encounter with South Africa team by 6 p.m. Nigeria is aspiring for the fourth AFCON titles. The first was March 22nd, 1980. 1994 and 2013. So we need to come out and pray earnestly and cheer our team for today's victory. We all know that South Africans are okay now on the field of play. Our enemies on the field of play. No mercy for them today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have a message, and this one is coming from Honorable Onyedika Osakwe, and it says, what makes a goat to smell is in his shell bone. The crop of corruption people that are assembled to take charge of the affairs of this nation are almost those that win their various states. There is no tangible plan for this sitting government. If not everything available goes, who will bail the cat as the goods had been interred with their bones? And he continued and said, why should they commend the president for the release of abducted people if it has become a culture that people must be kidnapped on a daily basis and big ransoms paid out? And he says our president is just coming back from his holiday, while people are gnashing their teeth and protesting against many maladies, tormenting the God save. Okay, he says God save nation. It baffles me when EFCC is being mentioned about their arrest being that nobody had been sent to jail apart from do me. Okay, and as you did. Okay, as apart from do me as you did to my brother. This nation is only in the mercy of the Lord, as our so-called leaders had eaten the bone tied to their neck. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message is coming from Iweka Ifani from Ikengdo Ogiri, and he says Nigeria APC politicians are all bunch of amateurs. They are just there apportioning blames at each other, thereby allowing the country to go into extinction. Why will APC be letting out unguarded talks from their mouth by calling the protests made by people who are suffering political? These guys are focusless. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message. It's coming from Darlington now Roshuku, and he says a country full of kidnapping, killing, and stealing has lost her glory. In Nigeria, everything has turned upside down. No hope for the common man. A bag of cement is now 7,500 a bag, and Indomie and okay, super packs is 400. Now tell me how and how far can Nigeria can win the Afcon? Okay, yes, okay, and it says the glory of. Okay, no, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Darlington Nwalochukwu. And then we have this message, and this one is saying, this one say, I urge President Tinubu to invite foreign security outfits with its machinery to avoid all this killing and kidnapping, which has become a business of the day in Nigeria. And I wish Super Eagles victory on today's match against South Africa. This is coming from Wingate Ikechukwu Nwakeze from Okozo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we have this message is coming from the boss, and he says, he wants to talk about insecurity today. That should not be Nigerian news because what we are facing is too much. God should be with them. So that okay, your message is not complete. But he started with, I see South Africa. Okay, no, okay. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we flip over to our Facebook portal. On our Facebook portal, we have this message coming from Dr. Mrs. Mma Olebara from Owerri, and she says, enough of all these lamentations by government. Let it find a lasting solution to this high cost of living because the suffering has become ghastly. And he says people are really in excruciating pains as a majority of Nigerians are finding it very difficult to have a square meal. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Mrs. Mma Olebara. Now we have this message is coming from also Francis Nnamani from Amagunze in Enugu State, and he says the federal government should do everything possible to address the height of insecurity, unemployment, high cost of living, poverty, and hunger in the land. Honestly, the average Nigerians are weary. And he said, know that African bishops can get rid of Pope because they took Pope as okay, can get, and he says can and can't argue with him, and soon they will adopt. Said, despite indifference. Agonabu, joining us from Ofa Aguluzibo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. On our WhatsApp portal, we have this message, and it's coming from Kenneth Ndubisi Okapo from Umweze Omunachi, and it says, fighter helicopter without intelligence, strategy, and technology is like a gun without bullets. This is not the first time Nigerian Air Force acquired jet fighter and fighter helicopters, but all failed in tackling insecurity. Fighting of the kidnapping don't require a fighter helicopter, but intelligent work with modern technology. If Nigeria is sincere in fighting crimes, again, immigration issued 2.1 million passports in 2023 is not telling good of Nigeria, though there's no blame for people seeking greener pasture outside because of our government has no interest in the welfare of its citizens. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And this is the spot where we'll call it a day on this particular edition of newspaper headlines on Ebona Day 103.5 FM. Remember, it comes your way weekdays in the morning once it's 7 o'clock, so keep a date. And don't touch the dial of Ebona Day 103.5 FM once it's 8:20. We'll be back with Birthday Splash this morning. Stick with us. Until we meet again, I am Martin. Have a wonderful morning.
about the challenges we are having on our streets, our community, our society in general. Street report. If we do not address
Mr. Nanka, Urumba North Local Government Area in Anambra State, artist on parade, Sierra Doma. Mr. L and Revelation. James Arum. Israel Anyamede. Chioma Jesus. Paul Mukocha, Brother Felix Ndukwe, Benjamin Cornelius, Gozi Okeke, Abraham Edozie, Wambenta, Notutunde Gunjogodi Chiche, Mama Sinikris, Nendiegu, Osinora, Jen Koma.
how best can we talk about the challenges we are having on our streets, our community, our society in general. Street report. If we do not address these challenges on Ebonadi FM, who will, as the happenings around us get as complicated as they can be?
Our government,
Street report is here to make sense of it all. Street report is possible.